Well, Argentina and China have agreed to renew a $5 billion currency exchange line for yet another year. The renewal is part of a long-standing $18 billion swap line between the two nations. The swap line allows the central banks to exchange currencies as a way to maintain market stability. It's a much-needed boost to Argentina, which is facing a sliding currency and shrinking foreign reserves. But it could cause a larger rift between Beijing and Washington. President Trump has criticized the currency exchange agreement in the past, saying it is giving China too much sway over Argentina. Okay, let's talk about what's going on down in Argentina, the strikes and what lies ahead for that country's economy. And for that, we're going to bring in Economic Strategist and Advisor, Inaki Martinez Soria. Inaki, it's great to have you back on the program. You are the guy we always turn to make sense of what's going on in Buenos Aires. So,
Don, good to see you again.
What are the people of Argentina calling for in this day general strike and these weekly protests? How effective have they been, and what is it doing to its popularity?
Well, what we're seeing is a government that's very determined in the course of action that it has taken since the administration started in December 2023. This is actually the third general strike that the government has confronted it. While the unions are calling it a success, as we've already heard, most of the domestic flights and trains grounded to a halt. Only buses, urban buses, operated in the cities. The whole of the public administration and most of the education services also ground to a halt. So still, the private sector, 95%, according to the last numbers, did go to work today. So that's why the government is calling it a failure, although it has admitted that today's strike has cost the Argentine economy $900 million, which is massive for the current woes in our country. But what we see is a government that it's emboldened, particularly what is going on the financial front. Sure. And today, I think there are three very important news to share. The first one is that by tomorrow, if everything goes well for the government, the IMF Executive Board will have approved the Extended Fund Facilities Program for a total of $20 billion. Secretary of the Treasury Besant is going to be visiting Argentina next Monday, April the 14th, and several people are speculating that a direct credit line from the U.S. government might be on the table to prop up the Argentine government. And finally, as you mentioned, the confirmation of the extension of the swap with the Central Bank of China, which will continue to strengthen Argentina's foreign currency reserves.
Inaki, I want to get to the IMF and the swap agreement in just a second. But first, let's talk a bit about the state of Argentina's economy. President Milei has basically been fighting tooth and nail for a couple of years now. The result, a cut in inflation, and finally a sense of stability to that country's long-suffering economy. Let's talk more about the reaction from citizens and lawmakers. He still is far away from having a majority within the country's Congress. And secondly, we heard some of the citizens talk about their frustration over cuts in pensions. How deeply is this rooted?
Well, for sure, the population has a reason to be concerned. They have been, under anyone's impression, very tolerant in comparison to past fiscal adjustments that the Argentine government in different administration has tried to achieve. I think this is mostly as a result of President Milei's early speech or request to the people for them to be patient. We're heading into an election year, so this is going to be severely tested in the coming months. The main banner for the administration has been the reduction of inflation, which has quickly plummeted from, again, 25.5% in December 2023 to about 2.5% now. But the government and private researchers are expecting an uptick in the inflation for this month as a result of some currency movements. But what we're seeing is that the government, and particularly through this IMF program, is trying to prop up the central bank in order to be able to lift the currency restrictions currently operating in Argentina as the final phase of the stabilization plan.
Let's talk a bit about the IMF, because as you mentioned, its executive committee just needs to meet and give final approval to the $20 billion bailout. What is this going to mean?
Well, that's a tough question for Argentina because we've had 3 IMF programs since 2018, which we have returned since 2005. We hadn't had a relationship. I mean, we had a relationship, but we hadn't had a program with the IMF. The new program that it's due to come into effect, it will look as a 20 billion reinforcement. Two major doubts are still going ahead and will be confirmed tomorrow. Whether how much will be the first disbursement be, and second, will this come in fresh U.S. currency, or it'll be the DEGs, that is the currency that under which the IMF operates. What's the government expectation for this plan? Which has some very extended terms. It would be a 48-month grace period that Argentina wouldn't have to pay. Several of it is going to go to pay the outstanding IMF loans, and the remainder, the expectation of the government, it'll go to sanitize and prop up the central bank, which will, in the government's expectation, allow to lift up the currency restrictions and welcome a flood of investments to Argentina. Hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay, so China is also working with Argentina on what we've talked about as a swap line agreement. We don't have a lot of time, but briefly explain why this $5 billion package could be very valuable moving forward.
Well, as you noticed, a significant portion of Argentina's reserves are actually the swap with the Chinese central bank. If the agreement wasn't renewed today, the currency reserves would have dropped dramatically, which would have further worried potential investors and could have caused further turmoil in the market. The current extension will last till mid-2026, which the government expects to be enough in order to finally stabilize the country. And with the incoming funds, that should bring economic recovery to Argentina and much-needed growth.
Inaki, always a pleasure, my friend. You make sense out of this for all of us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Sean. Have a good night.
You too.